We're going to go ahead and get started. It is 11 o'clock, almost 11:01, so right on time, just to be cognizant of your busy schedules and all the things on your plate. So today we want to welcome you to the 2020 summer seminar that we are hosting. And we're so thankful for this opportunity just to be able to host this virtually. Of course, we love to see you in person, everyone, but it is exciting to see 153 of you guys joining us virtually. Yeah, just really exciting to see. But for the first session for today, it is the NJCAA 101 session and how to get involved. And we are psyched about this just because it is great to kind of start with the bare basics, right? And just kind of reorient ourselves with who we are as an organization, but also how all of us can become involved and kind of work together as a team unit. So I'm just excited about the potential of it. I'm going to pass it off to our men's and women's administrators, and that is Mr. Dean Myrick and Miss Marci Henry. And without further ado, I'll let you guys take the reins.
Thank you, Bailey. As she mentioned, my name is Marci Henry. I work in Region 9 at Northeastern Junior College, where I'm the athletic director. I have been involved nationally with NJCAA for 15 years. And we're excited today to show you a few different ways that you can also become involved in the association within the national ranks as well as regional ranks. And I'll let Dean introduce himself as well before we get started.
Thank you, Marci. Thank you, Bailey. We look forward to presenting here. My name is Dean Myrick, and I am the men's senior administrator. This will be my third year in that position. My 20th year, just completed the 20th year overall with the NJCAA. I'm currently the commissioner of the Alabama Community College Conference in Region 22. I've also served many years as an athletic director and also a men's basketball coach. So proud to be here and look forward to it.
Okay, so let's get started. And we want to first look at our identity and what we are as the NJCAA. And Bailey, do you have that slide? Thank you. So as this slide mentions, we are the governing body for all two-year college athletics within our association. There are two other two-year college athletic administrations. One of those is in California, and the other one is in the Northwest with Oregon and Washington and some teams from Idaho, but we definitely are the largest governing body. I think this slide is great because it does show that we are providing opportunities, and the buzzwords that we've used: compare, compete, succeed, and achieve. But I think really what we're doing is we're providing opportunities for students, both academically and athletically, for them to succeed. And I think on most of our campuses too, we are also providing opportunities for students to become involved in their communities, how to learn to be good citizens, how to learn to be good community members. And I certainly appreciate those opportunities that our students have there as well. We are the second largest national intercollegiate athletic association in the United States, with over 500 member colleges in 43 different states. And we have another slide coming up that shows the scope of that as well. But we have 25 different sports in multiple divisions. So there are a lot of student athletes that we're providing opportunities for every day. I think additionally what we're doing is we're providing a value add to our campuses. Student life is much different when you have athletics on your campus, and I think it provides a way for students to rally around each other, and it also can bring enthusiasm to your communities as they also become involved in that. And when we look at our mission, a few years ago, this was overhauled, and our mission is to foster a national program of athletic participation in an environment that supports equitable opportunities consistent with the educational objectives of member colleges. And I'd like to highlight the equitable opportunities. Those are things that we as a national leadership and as regional leadership work on a daily basis to try and provide those equitable opportunities for all students and all teams to not only be successful in the classroom, but also on the court or the mat or the field or wherever they're competing.
Okay, thank you, Marci. Just kind of a brief history lesson. Obviously, you can see the NJCAA was founded in 1938, 82 years old. That is astonishing. Also shows the amount of history that we have with the NJCAA. I believe a lot of people, or most people across the country, are not aware of the vast history that is from the NJCAA, whether it is school success, individual success, not only on the field or court, but also in life as well. In 1940, the region structure was implemented, as we know now, with the 24 regions, not all at one time, but they were phased in beginning in 1940. In 1949, the National Basketball Tournament, Division I, was moved to Hutchinson, Kansas. It is still there today. 1956, the first NJCAA football championship was held. Obviously, we will talk in a little while how times have changed. That game is now on CBS Sports, so we continue to grow our brand that way. In 1959, Grand Junction hosted the NJCAA Division I baseball championship. That still stands there as well. They do a phenomenal job. In 1975, the women's division was formed. In 2013, we celebrated our 75th anniversary with a year-long celebration. And then in 2018, just to show a little bit of our individual success, over 50% of the NJCAA student athletes transferred to a four-year college or university to continue their athletic career. Just to kind of go back over briefly what Marci's already talked about, the NJCAA currently has over 500 member colleges. That does continue to grow. We will not count this year with schools due to the current situation dropping sports, but up until we have got to this point where we're seeing an increase in membership due to the vast opportunities that we provide. 47 national championships. With that being said, we'd like to congratulate or thank Kim Whitestone and her division, Rod Lovett, for all they do in making sure all of our national championships go off without a hitch. Obviously, 47 national championships, we must have 47 great hosts who go all out to provide a great experience for our student athletes. And as you can see, we award over $100 million in institutional aid. Obviously, that creates a lot of opportunities for our student athletes who may not otherwise be able to attend a two-year college.
This next slide shows how we are governed by region. And Dean had mentioned the regional structure was developed in 1940, and it has changed slightly over the years. But I think that what you're looking at right now is very similar to the original breakdown of regions. You can find what region you're a part of, and again, 24 different regions. As we mentioned earlier, 43 different states. We do have 3 different divisions, Division I, Division II, and Division III. All 3 of those divisions are being reviewed, and philosophy statements are being developed for each of those divisions. So as we have new members join the ranks of the NJCAA, they'll have a visual where they can decide what fits best with their particular situation. And as mentioned earlier too, we do have 25 different sports that are sponsored within the NJCAA. The leadership piece of this, I think, is what's really important, and it helps us understand not only ways that we can become involved, but how we get to certain points of discussion. You know, our yesterday, the big announcement in moving fall sports and winter sports to the spring, where did that come from and how did we get there? And I think it's important to know that within the National Association, the NJCAA Board of Regents has 37 members, and they have a representative from every region within the country. In addition to that, if you're doing the math, you'll know that there's additional members. We have members from the Presidential Advisory Council, and there are 24 members who are part of that board. The presidents that are involved in the association are very much pro-athletics and are looking for ways to help advance the association. And they have a lot of influence in terms of trying to help the board make decisions that are very large, especially ones like we saw yesterday. So those are your two main bodies that are representing you at the top levels of the association. Within our regional structure, we have individuals who are responsible to the region in region directors and assistant region directors. Those individuals, as well as those from the Board of Regents, make up our sports-specific committees and our standing committees. So we have 37 total sports-specific committees, and those are based on the sport as well as the division. And our standing committees, they vet items that we put into action dealing with eligibility and championship events. Those are also filled by members of the Board of Regents or your region directors and assistant region directors. We also have members of the Presidential Advisory Council that serve on these committees as well. In addition, we just added councils. These national councils, which we have 3 of at this time, work to serve the students. If we look at number 1, the Student Athlete Welfare and Safety Council, we have a lot of athletic trainers who are involved in that. We have many ADs involved in the Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity Council and the Student Athlete Success Council. All 3 of those councils include members of people throughout the United States that are not necessarily a part of the Board of Regents or region director or an assistant region director.
Thank you, Marci. And just kind of to piggyback on what Marci just spoke about, I will refer you to page 16 and 17 of the current NJCAA handbook. That will provide you a list of the 2019-20 Board of Regent members. If you are from a particular region, obviously you are, that will show you who your Board of Regent representative person is. Feel free to get in touch with them for any questions. If they do not know the answer, they will obviously know who to contact to get the answer for you. You would also be able to see who the Presidential Advisory Council members are, as well as the officers well. I will also refer you to page 35, which is Article 2 in the 1920 handbook. That will go over the officers, the board chair, which is Mick McDaniel, and then obviously Marci and myself, what our responsibilities are with those terms, the election years, so on and so forth. As Marci said, each region holds 1 Board of Regents representative. We also have at-large members, which you may apply for with the blessing of your region. And then also the 6 Presidential Advisory Council members that also represent the 24 presidents on the Board of Regents. Obviously, each region has a men's region director, an assistant men's region director, and then also a women's region director and assistant region director. If you will go to page 36, Article 4, it will have a vast listing of what those individuals do. I will take my hat off to all of our region directors, assistant region directors for everything that they do. We are a volunteer organization. It takes a lot of volunteers to assist the national office with all that they do. I feel like with the region directors and the assistant region directors, the boots on the ground are able to relay a lot of very important information to us that we can consider. Obviously, going through the process that we went through last week with the fall sports moving to spring, there was a lot of great suggestions, information that came from the boots on the ground, things that we needed to look at. Okay, as far as national championships, this slide says we have 52 national championships. The most frequent NJCAA championship host states are New York, Kansas, and Texas. And that is over the years. What I want to direct you to is anyone can bid on a national championship. What we're starting to see from a championship events committee, I believe Rod is on if he or Kim wants to speak to this as well. We're starting to see a lot of convention and visitors bureaus bid on national championships. They're trying to actually get championships in their community. This year, serving on the championship events committee for many years, I would dare say that we had more bids this year than any other year we've had in the past, and not just necessarily quantity, but quality as well. It was a very tough decision being able to pick those. I will direct you, if you want to go to the NJCAA website under About NJCAA and click on Host a Championship. That will lay out everything that you need to know if you or you know someone who may be interested in bidding on a national championship. Marci?
Thank you. I think one area that we've really expanded on over the last few years has been our marketing department. They've done a fabulous job in showcasing what we as the NJCAA do, how we provide those opportunities for students as well as the successes. And if we look at this slide here, I just want to point out that when we look at the Google Analytics data from the calendar year 2019, you can see that we had 27 million page views on the njcaa.org, and 2.5 million visitors had at least visited one time. So we're seeing a huge increase in the number of looks. And I think a lot of that has to do with our efforts in social media platforms. And on the next slide, you'll see that we have 17 total platforms, 12 Twitter accounts, which that is a lot of followers, over 100,000 followers combined, 2 different Facebook accounts, a LinkedIn account, YouTube and Instagram. And looking at our YouTube analytics, almost 150,000 views with 3,000 hours of watch time. That's really, those are some big numbers, and I'm sure a lot of us would like to duplicate those on our own campuses. Nationwide initiatives, I think, have also drawn people to our social media platforms and then to our website. The NJC Forward campaign, which was launched in March, and in looking at that particular one, we're looking to promote the unity among NJCAA member colleges, coaches, and student athletes in response to COVID. If we go back into the fall, back to school week, many other ones that I'm sure if anybody on the marketing department is interested in visiting about, they could share with us as well. But not only bringing interest to the National Association, but also bringing interest to our local campuses and college and student athletes.
And in keeping with the branding, this past year was the second year that CBS Sports Network carried the NJCAA football championship. Last year was also the first year, well, I guess the year before, that CBS Sports Network also carried the Division I men's and women's basketball championship with huge success as well. CBS Sports was very pleased with the product and the production, and they have continued negotiation for future events. In addition, ESPN is also still expressing interest in negotiating future coverage. One thing that the national office has done really, really well is showcasing not only our teams, but coaches and student athletes. One part of that is that they will be launching the NJCAA network, and that will be in partnership with Presto Sports and Stretch Internet live streaming. And it's going to provide a comprehensive location for a lot of NJCAA content. That platform, which is scheduled to debut in August of 2020, excuse my tongue-tied, but that will include NJCAA championships as well as regular season competition and special video features. Another thing that the national office has done really, really well is try to secure sponsorships and partnerships that is able to help our member colleges. If there's anyone from the national office that wants to speak on this, I will turn it over to them. Okay.
I think Brian's going to hop in just a second. So he
Okay.
can.
Thank you.
While we wait for Brian, if we take a look at the next slide, a relatively new development within the NJCAA is creating the NJCAA Foundation, which occurred in 2019. And what's really exciting about the foundation is we have a lot of outside businesses, banks, and individuals who are all very interested in our mission, what we provide for student athletes, and they want to help us do that. They want to help us be able to do that. Within the foundation, we have representatives from the national office, Brian Lecca and Jenna Gulich, who sit on that committee, as well as 30 members that are on the board of directors. Right offhand, I can think of Gary Broadhurst from Region 3, who serves as a board of director on the foundation, with many, again, private companies and individuals who see the value in what we do on a daily basis. They do meet quarterly, and their goal, their mission statement there below, I'll read it to you. The mission of the NJCAA Foundation is to enhance the NJCAA national organization, student athletes, member colleges, and local communities through financial support, scholarships, programs, initiatives, and community service. And one of the latest announcements that they made was in regards to COVID-19 and trying to help all of our institutions with a goal of seeking out donations that would help every institution in the United States that are members of the NJCAA pay for their dues in the upcoming academic year. So a lot of great work being done there. Unfortunately, because of COVID, their first large event had to be postponed. I'm not sure if there's a date that it's been rescheduled to, but it'll be a great celebration of what they've started, as well as honoring some individuals within the association or members who have contributed to the success of the NJCAA. So really exciting work there.
Marci, this is Jim Whitestone. Sorry. That date is June 18th.
Okay, thank you.
Now, all of this being said, how can you become a part of NJCAA leadership? There are a couple or a few options. Regionally, and again, I'll direct you to the listing of the region leadership with your directors, board of regent, and also assistant directors. They can direct you to regional committees, maybe a tournament host, or work that needs to be completed, whether it's sport committees, any ad hoc committees that regions may have. Be a leader at the grassroots level and let them know what expertise that you have in a given area. Nationally, obviously you would, if the region structure works out, obviously board of region opportunities. One opportunity that may not be well known is, and I'll give you an example of the polling committees. If you have expertise in a particular sport and are willing to watch national competition, keep up with results, game data, let your region leadership know that you're interested in being on a poll vote. And just to give you an example, sport committees are allowed to increase the number of poll voters in addition to the actual sport committee. To give you a specific example, Division I men's basketball, there are 7 committee members. In order to get district representation, we have added 9 additional poll voters. That gives each of the 16 districts a voting member. It also gives us an opportunity on poll calls to hear information from each district, such as results, injuries, things that may impact wins or losses in the poll. One thing that you will see is Mr. Webster with the national office will send out nomination email or communication to let you know we are accepting nominations to send to the sport chair to look at and adding those additional voters. That option is there for each of our sport committees in order to increase representation that way. So as we begin, I know this year is not going to be ideal, so the timelines may be off a little bit, but there will be communication coming from the national office as far as the polling committees. Marci?
So where does the ladder go? How can we become involved? So as we had touched on a little bit earlier with our national sport and standing committees, those currently are limited to members of the Board of Regent, the Presidential Advisory Council, region directors, and assistant region directors. But there is an opportunity that we'll talk about here in just a second. When we look at the assistant region directors, and Board of Regent members, they are all positions that are elected at the regional level. So you certainly could run for one of those elected positions. And in terms of the Board of Regent executive officers, once the Board of Regents is established, they then elect a board president, vice president, the senior men's and women's administrators, a secretary, a treasurer, and board vice chair. All these terms are varied and staggered, and as Dean had pointed out, you can find that information in the handbook. I don't remember the exact pages that he quoted, but it's all that information is certainly in there. Where we have hot topic in the middle of this slide, really the hot topic is we're looking at ways that we can expand national sport and standing committees, expand that membership to include anyone who is interested within the NJCAA, athletic directors, possibly coaches, SIDs, anybody within the athletic world that you could think of that might have some interest in one of these committees. So that is something that will be vetted with the Board of Regents in an upcoming meeting. It has been presented, and there will be additional discussion and a vote upon that, I believe in August. So please somebody correct me if I'm incorrect on that. But I think that's very important, because those of you who are interested in serving in those roles without being a region director, assistant region director, or a Board of Regents member, could possibly have that opportunity coming up in this next academic year. We also wanted to share with you a little bit about how the process, the selection process for those sport committees and standing committees occur. And really list, oh, okay, we're back to that one. Of all the people who apply for those committees, again, currently they're assistant region directors, and Board of Regents members, and our PAC members. They all fill out an application to serve on committees. They give their top choice through 5 choices, provide any information in regards to their expertise in those areas. And then that information is collected by the national office, and it goes to both Dean and myself, who serve again as the men and women's administrators. It goes to the Board of Regent president and a national office representative. We then vet and select each member of those committees. And as we're doing that, it's a very detailed process and does take quite a bit of time to do. We're really concerned with matching up individuals' requests while also trying to be sure there is regional representation on sports committees based on the percentage of teams from that particular region that are participating in that sport. And it can be very tricky. Currently, we have several members of all of those different groups that serve on multiple sport committees. And this is why Dean and I brought it forward to be able to include all members of the association if they have interest in applying for the committee, so that we're not spreading all of our volunteers so thin. Dean did mention that this is a volunteer organization, and we are all giving our time and service in trying to promote the NJCAA and creating the best possible opportunity for our students to participate in sports. So stay tuned as those opportunities may be coming sooner than later. Our sport committees and standing committees are created for the this academic year 2021, but if this proposal passes, we will be looking at that for 21-22. Dean?
And as you can see on this slide, a list of all the committees and opportunities that present themselves. One big change that has come about that was approved by the Board of Regents a couple of months ago, the Eligibility Committee is now structured in a different way. In the past, and this went on for probably the 82 years that the NJCAA has existed, the Eligibility Committee was drawn out of a hat. We have discussed this over the years. This past year, and again, the Board of Regents approved a couple months ago, those are now selected based on nominations. So anyone within the region director, assistant region director, as well as Board of Regents can apply to serve on the Eligibility Committee. We have broken down that committee to have 2 representatives of Division I, 2 of Division II, 2 of Division III, as well as a chair and a vice chair. The previous Eligibility Committee chair is always, will always be serving on that committee as well. So we look forward to that. We think it's going to be a big change. It gives each division equal representation, which will add to the discussion as we move forward with eligibility proposals. In addition to the councils that you see there, as Marci stated earlier, We now have a Division I, Division II, and Division III council. They have been working hard on developing philosophy statements for each division, which will help drive future work and decisions by the sport committees and eligibility committees as well. As far as what they are looking at is what is a philosophy of Division III? What is a philosophy of Division III postseason? Is it more geographical versus let's get the best we can get? This also helps drive at-large discussion as well as national tournament increases. Also, the potential is there for any ad hoc committees that may be started throughout the year to look at specific areas that may come back to the Eligibility Committee or really any other committee for that matter. So always be on the lookout for communication from the national office as far as potential opportunities that may arise due to current situations. So with that, that is how we stand as far as a 101 from the NJCAA. As you can see, are you game? We would like to have everyone or as many as possible involved in what we all do. So with that, I will turn it back over to Marci or Bailey if the national office has anything to add.
I see that Brian is on our call now as well, and perhaps he can share a little bit of information on the sponsorships as we had gone back to that slide.
Perfect suggestion. Let me flip there quickly.
So Brian, as Bailey's getting us to that slide, would you introduce yourself to the group?
Absolutely. Dean, Marci, great to see you guys and hope you guys are doing well. And appreciate everybody joining here today as we kick off the summer seminar and everything we have for this week. My name's Brian Luckett. I am the Vice President for External Affairs and Development here with the National Office. I've been here for a little over 2 years now. A lot of exciting things that we have, but obviously with COVID-19, it's adjusted some of our plans, but we're still moving forward with some of them in terms of what we're doing with our division and with the national office. So from this slide here, as a lot of people are aware, we are now on the scene of national television in terms of live sports, if everybody remembers what those were at one time. But we still have our agreement with CBS Sports Network to where it was last year was the second time that our football championship game was on CBS Sports Network, and it's gone very well. For where we have our championship game, which has been on that Thursday night, really on that first week of championship week in college football, we're the only college football game on that Thursday night, and it's performed very well for CBS Sports Network. And we look forward to being able to have that continuing conversation on the national sports scene as we move forward. And with what's happened with COVID-19, there's a lot of opportunities for us in finding out where we fit with everything moving to spring now, and even in the future as more people are really looking at junior college athletics in the NJCAA. And if you've seen from the past 48 hours, ESPN and a lot of major networks have picked up on our news. So it's about taking these obstacles that we've come across and turning them into opportunities, and we're trying to do that on a national scene in terms of our branding, our exposure, and letting people know about the NJCAA. The NJCAA network, you can see a little bit of a teaser for you guys. We haven't publicly released this logo yet, but the NJCAA network and what we're doing with Presto Sports, it'll be a new branded network in our partnership with them. Previously, we've had NJCAA TV, but it was really focused on, okay, well, if we have our colleges and they want to be a part of it, their games can be on there, and then national championship and tournament games are on there. What we're looking to do with the NJCAA network is, sure, we're going to have a live sports of our colleges that can be a part of the network, and the benefits that come of a one-stop shop for anybody of watching NJCAA athletics. And a lot of people are streaming on their PCs, but the future is people are watching on their phones. People are watching on their devices. And if they want to be able to watch and go to one place for any NJCAA game, they can still do that with the network. But what we're looking to do also is expand and being able to have the presence of, okay, well, now we're going to have additional features. We're going to be able to go and do behind the scenes interviews and stories with our member colleges, put them on the network, expand what we've done. Last year was the first time we did a selection show for each division and gender of basketball last year. So we did 6 selection shows, and we're going to look to expand on that and do that for other sports. But it's really just to generate more content on the NJCAA overall for people to be able to go and watch it in one place. So really it's, again, elevating our exposure and our brand for the NJCAA and doing that through the NJCAA network. And Presto Sports is offering preferential discounted pricing for our members to be a part of the network, because for us, that was the main priority, and Presto has that as well, of we want the NJCAA members to be a part of this so we can continue to grow it, and the cost savings of people being able to do streaming, as that's going to be the future, was really important as we work with Presto Sports on that partnership. So this will be launching this year. Obviously, because of the changes we've had, it'll just kind of our timeline. We're still launching it to be ready to go this year, but obviously our national championships and our sport content won't be available until spring. We've also continued to do a lot on the sponsorship and partnership front. And really it's very significant for us as a national association of, one, who do we partner with that really wants to provide benefit to the NJCAA and our members, but also that people that care about the 2-year college route. I can tell you in a lot of our conversations to try and find the right partner or sponsor, it goes into it a matter of there are some companies that want to focus on the 4-year level. They want to focus on the Power Fives. They don't really want to focus on the NJCAA. We want to partner with people that want to focus on us and our members. So it's a big priority for us in who we partner with, and you can see a list of our partners and sponsors here. You can also find them on the NJCAA website, and you can also find them on Connect. There's a tab on Connect. You go to sponsors and partners, and you can actually find the contact information for everybody as well, in terms of also where you can directly go to either order, you can go to work with them, whatever it may be. But the other important part for our sponsors and partners is that the benefits they provide either directly to you all as the members in terms of discounts and different opportunities they have, but also what they do for our national championships. Anything that they provide in kind, anything that they provide to the NJCAA in terms of sponsorships, we try our best to leverage that to keep our costs down for membership. So whatever we have from sponsors and partners goes right back into the NJCAA and our operations and what we do. So the more that we can leverage with third-party sponsors and partners in supporting the NJCAA means that's how much less we have to focus on membership dues in order to satisfy these services and things that we provide for you all, the NJCAA members, our student athletes, our championship events, and so on. Please look and support our sponsors and partners, and at the end of the day, give them an opportunity to earn your business, because that's really all they're looking for. And you all, as member colleges, need to work with the people that fits your institution the best. But our sponsors and partners are ready to service the NJCAA and our members and really care about investing in 2-year college athletics. So, yeah. Any questions or anybody that may have? I see that Marci mentioned that in the chat. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you guys have as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Brian. I did see that Greg Malik, you had raised your hand. So if you want to send your question in via chat, that's the way that we're operating throughout the summer seminar. So if you guys have questions, please do it that way. We'll leave just a couple minutes for everyone to send in questions. And if not, thanks so much for joining. We really appreciate having you. And I'll let Dean and Marci close us up with any final thoughts if you guys have them.
Final thoughts for me, if you have questions, again, please ask via chat. If you have questions regarding becoming involved, please seek out your regional leadership. I'm sure that there are many things that you could do to help them, whether it's regionally or they can help you find the nomination form, the self-nomination form for opportunities at the national level as well. Dean?
Yes, and I'll piggyback on what Marci said. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you think of some after we're done, reach out to your region representatives, or you may reach out to Marci and I if you have any questions that way. I just want to reiterate, we are a volunteer organization, outside of the national office. Without our volunteers, we would not be what we are. So I personally want to thank, all of our volunteers, whether it's, in a leadership position or, maybe things that you do, locally with your region. So thank you on behalf of Marci and I know I can speak for Mick and thank you as well. So with that, Bailey, I'll let you see if there's any questions.
Yeah, okay. And speaking of volunteerism, just the question that is, what kind of volunteer work does the NJCAA do? And we could probably talk to that too, from the national office perspective. But he's asking, Stephen, is for college staff to get involved. So that's the question.
Dean, would you like to go first or me?
You go ahead.
Okay, so I think your first step is, again, talk to your regional leadership. So there's probably an opportunity to be involved in a sport committee at the regional level. You could serve as a host for a tournament. If you're an SID, and not all colleges have SIDs, and so maybe you have some expertise within your region that you could help expand on what your region is doing in terms of communication as well. That might be anything from helping on their social media platforms to even trying to find ways to improve communication amongst the different colleges within your region. If we look again on the national level, and you'll have to let me know if I'm answering this correctly, but if we look at the national level, what the volunteers are doing, they're meeting and deciding sport code. They're meeting and deciding eligibility updates and rules. They're deciding on where championship sites should be located. They're deciding if in a pandemic we need to move fall sports to the spring. So there's a lot of conversations, and we've learned over COVID that we can do a lot of this work remotely. And we do have in-person opportunities when we're not in a pandemic with the NJCAA that does all of that work. So poll calls, Dean had talked about those. That's another place where the volunteerism comes. So I hope that answers your question. And Dean, you might have things to add.
Well, just a few more options. You can see as listed in the councils, you may have athletic trainers who want to be part of Welfare and Safety Council, Academic Success Council, registrar, so on and so forth. As far as local and regionally, you may have financial aid individuals at your college. There may be a scholarship committee in your region. There may be an academic committee in your region that, maybe a registrar or academic advisor. So as far as your local regions are concerned, it may not be just athletic staff, but it may be other staff as well that can help out in different areas.
Perfect. Well, there are no other questions in the chat. So just to wrap us up, thank you all for joining, 210 of you. So we appreciate you hopping on, and hopefully you were able to grow and gain something today. And we look forward to you joining us for the rest of the summer seminar. So thank you so much.